Luby's celebration of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month and Jewish American Heritage Month. My name is Sue Gelsey. I use she/her pronouns, and I welcome you to the Capital JCC on the Palisades. On behalf of our Board of Directors represented here tonight by our Board Chair Arthur Snitsky, our CEO Steve Rogers, as well as several of our trustees and directors. For the past few months, I've had the privilege of partnering with 6 fantastic organizations, and I ask my wonderful colleagues and organizing partners for each of these organizations to please stand and be recognized as I say your name. Brandy Katz-Rubin from the Anti-Defamation League, New York, New Jersey region. Jin Chun Yu from Fort Lee Chinese American Community Association. Amy Kotang from the Fort Lee Chinese Americans. Samir Rawal from the Hindu Swim Say Yak Bak Sang. I'm not sure about that. I practice so much. Also known as HSS, Samir. Dahlia Zader Levy from the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. And Claire Kang from the Korean Community Center. I also want to acknowledge several guests who are with us tonight, in addition to all of you. Diego Mazariego, who's joining us from Senator Robert Menendez's office. And Diego is the lead staff person for the AAPI outreach. Zachary Newman is here tonight representing Congressman Gottheimer's office, and Zachary is the manager of constituent services. We also welcome Luby Hughes, who's community relations specialist in the office of the Bergen County Executive Tedesco, as well as a member of the Bergen County Asian American Advisory Board, and fellow advisory board member Wendy Wang. And Luby has brought for us, has brought for each of our organizations a certificate of commendation from the Bergen County Board of County Commissioners, as well as door prizes, as well as a certificate of commendation from the County of Bergen. And this will be for each of our partner organizations. We welcome Chief Robert Chamberlain, Tenafly's Chief of Police and President of the Bergen County Chiefs Association. Welcome Hyun Jun Kwak, who is co-founder of the Ridgewood Asian American Pacific Islander Alliance and the first elected minority woman to the Ridgewood Board of Education in 120-year history. And welcome to Pingan Hao, the President of Fort Lee Chinese American Community Association. There's lots of other really special people, and I thank you all for being here, and I apologize for any mispronunciations. Our wonderful leadership group has designed this evening with several goals in mind. An opportunity to gain insights of different communities and cultures represented within the Asian American Pacific Islander communities, as well as different communities and cultures within the Jewish American communities. We hope you learned something new. We were looking for an opportunity to personally engage with people from other communities, religions, and cultures, and we hope you meet someone new. And we want to stand together as one community to disrupt acts of hate and advance peace. And we hope you make a plan for change with us. And of course, there's always social time, so we hope you enjoy the dumplings and time with one another. I'll now get to the heart of the evening. But before I turn things over to our panel, the leadership team acknowledges that no one person could fully represent a whole community, much less even represent themselves in the few minutes that we've given each of them. So this panel is going to be a taste, a little sampling of things that you might not know about another community. It's not meant to be comprehensive, it's really meant to start the conversation. And I now turn it over to a member of our JCC here, and a wonderful member of our community, Mai Abe Levin.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everyone here. I'm very honored to be the moderator for this evening's panel discussion. My name, as Sue mentioned, is Maya Abe Levin. I have been a member of this Kaplan JCC for close to 8 years. My husband, myself, and my 2 children have lived in Tenafly for 8 years. I was born in the United States. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I identify myself as a Asian American, Japanese American, Japanese. But there's an added layer to my family story. My husband is Jewish, and so we are raising our children Jewish and Japanese Americans. So I identify with multiple organizations and multiple ethnicities and religious backgrounds. So I'm very happy that I am here with these wonderful panelists tonight. So the goal of the panel is for representatives of various communities to share personal reflections, personal experiences, personal stories this evening. I'm going to be asking each of the 6 panelists 3 questions. The first question is going to be a start about introducing yourselves by saying your name, where you reside currently, what groups or communities you identify with, how long you and your family have lived here in the United States, and then lastly, if you can share with us something that you think might surprise people about the diversity of your community and culture would be wonderful. So we are going to start with someone on the very left, of the very right actually of the stage, and we're going to come this way.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I get to go first. What an honor. So my name is Sungwon Kim. I take she, her, hers, and I am a program manager at Lincoln Center, New Jersey. We are located in Palisades Park, which is home to many Korean Americans living in New Jersey. I am from Rutherford, New Jersey, which is also part of Bergen County. I was born in Seoul, South Korea, and immigrated to the United States in middle school with my family when I was 10 years old. It's been about 18 years now since I moved to the United States, and I call this place my home, New Jersey. And something that I think surprises people about my culture or my community is that we have too many things to know about our culture that I don't know all of it. First of all, with our language, we have informal and formal ways of saying certain things. Of course, I'm sure it's common in Asian languages like Japanese and Chinese and whatnot. For example, if you were to say hi, I would say 안녕하세요 to someone who's older than me or somebody that is totally new to me. But if it was my friend, I would just say 안녕. So like you just lost the whole second part, and it happens to be every single time you talk to somebody. You just have to know when to say informal or formal way. But eventually, if you are comfortable enough with somebody who's older, you can ask, oh, can we talk informally? And usually the person will say yes. So that's one thing. Another thing that I wanted to share is that Cheong, we can spell this as Cheong. It's about similar to being respectful and being genuine and sharing and caring for one another. But you don't have to know the person. So in South Korea, let's say you were at a cafe alone and you need to go to the bathroom. You have your MacBook open, your wallet, your phone, but you can really stand up and use the bathroom and nobody will take your stuff. Like it is just like, oh, like it's okay to leave your stuff there and use the bathroom for 5 minutes and come back and everything will be still there. Whereas like in other countries, you can expect, oh, like what if somebody steals my stuff? Like for us, we don't really think about that. Another funny culture that I want to share is that we use toilet paper for everything. Like we use toilet paper in bedrooms, living rooms, bathrooms, kitchen, like everywhere. So if you see toilet paper anywhere in the household, like it is very common in Korean culture. Like it's just like used as napkin or tissue. So don't feel like, oh, like this is dirty. It is not dirty. Like it's clean tissue for us. So I'm sure you can feel that way too, like it's just a clean napkin and a tissue for you. So that's something I wanted to share because it looks funny in a way and I didn't want it to be funny. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you, everybody.
Stephanie Cohen. I am also a member of the JCC for many years. All my children have gone to school here, and we're involved with the Jewish community in many attributes. I myself am Jewish. I was born Jewish. Both my parents are Jewish. My grandparents are actually Holocaust survivors, which I'll talk about a little bit later today, and kind of how that shaped me and who I am. I consider myself to be an American Jew, meaning that I myself was born in the United States, and so identify as being American, but also Jewish, and some of those sometimes conflict, but as a whole, it kind of sets together who I am, American and Jewish in one. So to answer kind of what surprises me about the diversity in my community, being an American Jewish person living and growing up in northern New Jersey, is that I think to an outside person, somebody who's not Jewish, not part of the community, they may not realize how diverse the Jewish culture is within just being Jewish. So just a little bit of an overview of the history of the Jewish identity, or the people who identify as being Jewish. There's about 14 million Jewish people. Most live in either Israel or the United States. And within that, within this population, there are people that divide themselves by how religious they are. So there's the Reform Jews, the Conservative Jews, the Orthodox Jews. You have Ashkenazi Jews, which is Jews that are coming from Europe, Sephardic Jews, which are coming from East Asia and Spain, West Asia and Spain and Northern Africa. And then within that, you have where people, cohabitate together. You have Tenafly, you have Chicago, St. Louis has a big Jewish population. So all of these things make one different from one another. And what makes these groups common, though, is their Jewishness. So we're kind of, as being an American Jew, while we do have kind of subsets, I guess I would call it, there's this Jewishness that makes everybody similar. And I think the trickiest part about it is that sometimes Jews amongst themselves don't really see their commonness. One of my dearest friends are Israeli Jews. They both grew up in Israel. They came here after the army, and they're trying to keep their Israeli Jewishness as much a part of their lives, but still struggling in a positive way to assimilate and be American Jews. But how do you draw the line of when you're too American and you're losing your Israeliness, etc.? I'm staring at the clock. I know I'm talking for a long time. But long story short, I think it's their children that really add kind of a confusing element to this in a positive way. Because as we work towards assimilating as Jewish Americans, we're kind of diluting what makes each sub-segment unique. So just very interesting how diverse the Jewish population is in and amongst itself.
Thank you, Stephanie. And my name is Yogi Gupta, and I am a project management consultant, currently working with the Prudential Financial. I came to this country in 1998. This month I am finishing 25 years of first when I landed into the US. And I think most of people remember Y2K that happened. That Y2K thing brings a lot of Indians at the time in the IT sector in this country. And I also, in that race, came to this country, US, living with my family. Talking about the culture and surprises in the culture, like Stephanie mentioned, about the differences, diversity within the culture. And I came from a land which you can say the extreme of the diversity. Can you think about, there are 29 official languages in India, official. More than 700 dialects of the languages are recognized. Can you think about that every 50 miles there is a different food, different dress in the different states, right? So much diversity. Architecture you find after every 100-200 miles You go travel in India and you find a different type of architecture, a different type of food, completely different type of food. Can you think about a culture where more than 200 type of dishes are made only with the rice flour? So that type of diversity I am coming from, and but still with all the diversity, everyone is living harmoniously together with one thought, because the thing is, should we look for the differences or should we look for the what is the common thread? So I am coming from that culture, so much diversity. When I see here diversity wise, so we talk about here diversity and inclusion, and then I feel that yes, I am coming from a land which is extreme of the diversity, and we still live because we all feel that we are all one. Blood is one. We drink same water. We breathe same air. So we are all one. So we have to find the ways how to think where the similarities are rather than looking at the differences. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, JCC, for giving us this platform to come together tonight. I want to lead with that heartfelt gratitude for this opportunity. I'm Amy Kotang. I live in Fort Lee, New Jersey. I currently live there with my husband and 2 daughters. I came to the States when I was 10. I've been here for about 40 years now. I'm losing count. My father said at my wedding that I was a daughter of the labor class, and he wasn't wrong. Both of my parents did not graduate from elementary school. They came here and they opened up a hole in the wall, and somehow from that hole in the wall, I crawled myself onto Wall Street, where I traded fixed income securities for 20 years. It was an incredible experience. I traced it back to my roots to Hong Kong, where I was raised. And my mom saw that there was limited opportunity and moved our family here. My family was originally from a place called Fujin. For the second generation Fujianese, we call it FJ, because it sounds just a lot cooler to say FJ. We are the restaurant people, we are the takeout people, and we are extremely proud of our takeout roots. My first language is actually Cantonese, so I'm a bit of a mixed bag. I learned Mandarin as a social tool to socialize with my high school friends. Coming to the States was not easy. I learned English as a second language speaker. And speaking of language, I think language is probably one of the most fascinating cultural representation for my people. And so let me share a little bit about that diversity with you. We have 2 written language forms, the simplified and the written. And just by simply looking at which form is picked, you know where that person is from. So if you were to write in simplified, you're probably from either mainland or Singapore. If you write in the traditional form, you're probably from Taiwan or Hong Kong. Though that line gets a little more fuzzy these days. And the spoken languages or the spoken form, they're a countless dialect. And we do not understand each other, even if we're only miles away. So for example, where I'm from, Fujian North, we speak one dialect. Fujian South speaks a whole bunch of different dialects. And to a point where I can look at a last name and tell you where in the world this person is from, what type of Chinese this person is. Huang, let's take that example, W-A-N-G. W-A-N-G is commonly either from mainland or Taiwan. The same last name would be W-O-N-G if you're from Hong Kong. If you're from Singapore, it could be O-N-G. And immediately that connection is formed, that connection is made, and it's fascinating. I hope you guys will see a one and spot him out from a mile away.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Ilham Pavleen. I am a resident of Englewood, New Jersey, father of 4 beautiful girls, and my wife is a native New Jersey, and that's what we're here, basically. to Queens about 25 years ago. I'm from a family that is Persian Jews, came to Israel in 1950. My father migrated to Israel when he was 5, and my mom was born in Israel to a similar background of a Persian Jewish family. Just like Stephanie explained earlier, there's so many different Jews around the world, and they all end up, or majority of them end up in Israel, and created something that's very unique to the state of Israel. We have Indian Jews, we have African Jews, we have Jews from Australia, from Brazil, British Jews, all over the world. Jews migrated to Israel and made Aliyah and found a safe harbor for themselves from places that weren't comfortable for them, or they just wanted to live in Israel, what they call Zion. Very happy to be here in the U.S. I came here to work. I thought I'm going to be here for a little bit, but then I met my wife, and we built an amazing family. My wife is not from a Sephardi background. She's basically born in the U.S. Her family is from Ashkenazi descent, Eastern European family, and we have different traditions. So when we started the family, it was very different habits and traditions and celebrating holidays in different manner. But we always said that we're going to bridge the gap and find a common ground, and that's really the uniqueness of my house, and celebrating all that is different and bringing it to one roof. My family that came to Israel came in 1950. My grandfather migrated from Iran, and they lived in a town that's called Kerman. It was a place south of Iran, still a town in Iran. And his brother came to Israel in 1930. He came with camels and on the back of trucks and whatnot with his kids. One of the grandkids of that grandfather became a very successful Israeli singer named Ehud Banai. He's from the very known Israeli artist. And the rest of the family came over later on. They worked in different, jobs that they can get, because the state of Israel was very, very, very new, and they had to take anything that they can to survive. But they taught us how to work hard and values, and they built a community in Israel, like a synagogue for the community, and that's where everybody got gathered all the time. So I always say that when we have JCC or other locations for the community, it's always a place that everybody can come together and share the same common ground that we all have. Thank you for having me.
Good evening. My name is Tad Furmoro. And you're probably wondering, why am I wearing Vietnam fatigue? And there's a banner right in front as you walk in. There is a very profound meaning behind this, which I will talk about in the second portion of my talk. I was born in Turtle Lake segregation camp during World War II. My father was a migrant farmer with only 8th grade education. But somehow he worked hard, and all of us had a good education. I became a real estate broker about 49 years ago. Next year, we're celebrating our 50th. Like I mentioned, I'm a camp survivor. I'm decorated and disabled Vietnam vet. And thanks to my wife, who's here today, she had nursed me, and she has supported me financially in my toughest time. Would you stand up? A lot of times, the spouse of returning soldiers don't get enough credit. But without her, I might be in New York City, homeless like other Vietnam vets. Thank you, huh? Woo! We started a real estate business 49 years ago because I couldn't hold a job. I came back from Vietnam with PTSD and Agent Orange. And for 10 years, she had supported me. That's why we're here. And we will be celebrating our 50th year anniversary of our company next year. And this year, she and I are celebrating our 51st year our anniversary. I don't know how we did it, but somehow we made it. And at that time, town of Fort Lee, borough of Fort Lee, who had given me key to the borough of Fort Lee about 7 years ago, had embraced me despite our handicaps. But due to community service and everything else, we're very fortunate to get to where we are today. Like my father, he came when he was 13 years old from Japan. And at that time, it wasn't a coronavirus, but it was Spanish flu. Was in his third year, so his parents could not afford it. So he became a migrant farmer, working strawberry farm. And he went to segregated school in Florida, California. I'll get to this a little later, but anyway, this is part of my story here.
Thank you very much for all of your very diverse personal stories. I would like to move on to the next question, if I may, which is if you could share a hardship or a challenge that you or your family are facing currently or in the past. If you can talk a little bit about that and how that might be as a result of your religion or your country of origin. We were hoping you could start Yogi. We're going to start with Yogi this time. Thank you. And move this way again.
It's difficult to tell what difficulties I faced. So first thing that when I came to this country, the biggest difficulties that I faced is related to the food. I am a vegetarian, and here you can think about going to any restaurant or anywhere, right? For the vegetarian, what you have is only salad. So that's one of the biggest difficulties I faced. I remember still when I came here, for whole 1 week, I was just eating banana and some yogurt that I found in the stores. Because as a new immigrant here, a lot of things you don't know. So that was one of the challenges. Related to the religious thing, especially I think in the New Jersey, you don't feel that type of discrimination, but still, I being a Hindu, it is very difficult for me to explain. So a lot of people here, like they are not able to understand the concept of the Hindu. How you are worshipping so many gods? How can be so many gods? Right? What type of gods you are worshipping? So to explain to them that what is we thought about is, yes, everything is one, but you can worship in any form, whatever you want. So that explanation to others that we feel, and sometimes they feel, yeah, these people they don't know, they are not modernized, they are backward people. So that type of discrimination and the thought process that I feel we face as a community here. A lot of times, our kids also in the school, they feel that type of peer pressure among because the kids, when they come to us and then talk at home, that type of difficulties based on our religion that we face.
Thank you. When we came, it was 1985. The Chinese community had been shut out from this country for about 100 years before I came. So there wasn't a whole lot of data point, there wasn't a whole lot of support, there wasn't a whole lot of network. The first wave of Chinese to return to America after 100 years, a century, were the Taiwanese. They were students seeking advanced studies. They were the engineers, they were the doctors, they were the educated, hungry, scruffy, young Chinese who want to come and make something of themselves. When we came as restaurant workers. My parents didn't speak English, so there was a lot of loneliness, there was a lot of solitude, there was a lot of barriers to access to services, to language support. to our grocery. We would make weekly visits to Chinatown once a week and get everything we want. We would get lots of durian, really smelly. We love them. We would get all our stuff in our weekly trip. And that was that became a family tradition for us. My sister and I were 10 and 11, and we were learning English, and it was so lonely in the school. We were the only Chinese kids in Washington Heights. And so we would take the A train every day to go to Chinatown after school, and we would hide in this bookstore all day and read books until they closed at 7, and then we would ride the train back. 2 10-year-olds, I don't know why my mom thought that was a good idea, but we made it home safe every single time. The loneliness was probably the hardest challenge. And as second generation, the challenge became, where is my claim in this country? Where is my claim? How can I be part of this country and be embraced and don't need to justify that I love this country, I am part of you because I look different. And that's something, the country is struggling with right now. And so I wish my kids all the luck.
So when I came to the US, I was a 21-year-old single guy and really had no fear of anything and didn't care for anything. I just came here to work and was focused on that, and work was everything. Now that I'm a parent, and recently we went to Israel, unfortunately the situation over there wasn't so good. Missiles flew down from Lebanon and from Gaza, and there were terror attacks. And I have 2 10-year-old twins, girls, and they look at me like, Abba, why do people hate us? And that's the biggest challenge I have as a parent, to explain to people, or my kids, why and how to deal with that. I happened to be at an event last night of a great organization called Stand With Us. It's an organization that fights anti-Semitism and hate, pretty much. And that's the biggest challenge of today's world, in my eyes, to really educate people that we're all the same. People are people. And celebrate your ethnicity, celebrate your accent. It can be nice, sexy, or boring, but whatever. Just be yourself and celebrate that. And events like this and situations that we are all in should make us stronger, and I welcome the opportunity to do more of those and teach people how to deal with all that, because there's no reason for hate, and there's no reason for people to feel that they're not welcome in the world for any reason. I really never felt any hatred or any anti-Semitism in New York, but one time there was a Arab cab driver, I think he was, and I was on my phone walking into the yellow cab, speaking in Hebrew, and he kicked me out right away. So I was like, why? And he was like, Israel, I was screaming, and I was like, okay, goodbye. So, yeah, things like that happened, and I didn't know how to approach it. I was very upset, obviously, but, you go on social media, you go all the outlets that we have these days, and you try to influence and do as much as you can to make sure people, bridge the gap and actually know what they talk about and know the history, know the differences and the challenges we all face and overcome them.
The second part of the portion of the question was, surprised me. Well, my family must have been really surprised when 1942, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, putting 95% of the Japanese American into internment camp.
Yes.
And my parents, they lost everything. Despite it all, we came out of the ashes like a phoenix, and we became vital part of the United States. The thing that I wanted to say is during the World War II, we were locked up for 4 years for being of Japanese heritage. First time in American soil. Unfortunately, not too many people knows about this. When I was going to junior high school, there was one sentence that Japanese Americans were interned during the World War II. That was it. But anyway, we must tell the story so that next American, not just Asian American or any other Americans, will not face the plight of what Japanese Americans have to go through because of our nationality. And I try to do a lot of lectures so that we could educate American public so that something like this does not ever happen in this country. And in fact, tomorrow I'll be going to Bronx at Washington Heights to talk about the internment camp, the World War II, the Vietnam War, the things that I have experienced. Oh, sorry, I'm always expiring time over here. I'll finish that during my third portion.
So I'm gonna say a few numbers. So there are over 60,000 Korean Americans living in Bergen County. And within Bergen County, there's 8,500 undocumented Korean Americans living in here. I am one of them. And we tend to think that being Asian, there's no connection with being undocumented. I don't know why, but media doesn't show Asian Americans being undocumented and only really presents another race. I don't want to go into so much detail because I don't have much time. Oh, it is not ticking. Well, I got more time now. But because before I went way over and I was like, oh, this is not good, right? With my status, it's always a challenge. My life right now is still a challenge because, I think about my future. I consider myself still young and I feel like I can do so many things. But because I am undocumented, I feel like I had to really represent my community, and just moving to the United States with my family, we speak zero English, like nothing. And whenever we go somewhere, I had to translate for my parents, whereas where I feel like I need the support from my parents too. Like I had to be the one to take my parents, translate things, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. For college applications, I did everything by myself because my parents are always working, or they wouldn't know how to process certain things. So everything growing up, I feel like was a challenge, and I feel like I didn't get the support I needed. But today, I am actually very grateful that I got to this point and got to experience so much and explore so much at a young age where I feel comfortable doing anything at this point. I'm not afraid to say about my status in front of you all because I've done it so many times. I got to go to school all 4 years with scholarships and get my master's as well. So I'm just really grateful to be here, and I'm thankful, and challenges will always come, but it's about the way you face your challenges, so I'm always ready to do that.
So I am going to read a little bit. I like to wing it when I speak, but I just have a lot to say for this specific question. Where I'm different than, or the anomaly of the group, is that I am second generation American, and it's my grandparents that came here. And so I'm going to read for a few minutes. My grandfather was 18 years old when he watched his mother being kicked to death in front of him by Nazis. He then escaped and joined the Red Army, leaving behind his father and 4 siblings to die. My grandmother turned 16 on September 1st, 1939, the very same day the Nazis marched into Poland. She then was transferred to Warsaw Ghetto and then to a concentration camp. By the end of the war, my grandparents had lost countless numbers of family members, including parents and siblings, and there was basically nobody left. Their personal tragedy and survival defined who they became and who I am. The Holocaust immigrants specifically had nothing. They built whatever life they could without a life to go back to. And so their assimilation was hard, but it was necessary because there was nothing to hold on to from their past. So when I was younger, I felt very different, right? There was not many grandchildren of Holocaust survivors where I lived. My Jewish friends were American Jews, raised by American grandparents, American parents, not European, not Holocaust surviving Jews. And there really is a distinction. I was raised stricter, more basic, food, home, family, education, they were definitely more important than luxuries. And in some ways, luxuries were a little bit frowned upon because they were not needed to survive, and that was really the goal. I was also raised knowing the hate against my family. So, you know, it was personal in a lot of ways. I know I'm running out of time, so I'll be very, very fast now. But any problem that I had growing up was minimized because if I got a bad grade on an exam or a teenage fight with my friends, everything that I experienced came back to the fact that I, thankfully, did not experience the Holocaust firsthand. So everything was always put into perspective. My grandma used to say to me, "Oh, stop complaining, Steffi, or my whole family was killed when I was 16. And you know, you can imagine, right, being a 16 yourself and being like, all right, I guess it's not so bad what I'm going through. But it was my grandmother's way of telling me that I needed to survive, that life goes on. And I think that my upbringing and other people that are in my situation, or any immigrant, grandchildren, child, or immigrant themselves that kind of go through this hardship, it really carries through your history, and it's defining how I, as a mother, raise my own children. So.
Thank you very much. I think we're hearing some similar challenges and some very differing challenges, but I think it all goes back to how you are presenting and how your family has dealt with these challenges. So thank you very much. I think I'm going to change course a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit more about perhaps joyful traditions that your family and you, what are some joyful activities or traditions or things that you do with your family and your community? If you can share some of those stories, and we're going to start, I think, with Elon this time. And I'm going to give you this microphone. Yes.
Thank you. So we have a joke, my family, we celebrate a lot of the holidays that some of you probably don't know, or some of that. Jewish people don't celebrate, we celebrate all of them, and we always say, you know what, we celebrate a holiday to thank for something that happened. And one of the times where a holiday got together, my family from my wife's side came over and they celebrated with us in Israel. Mind you, they are from Ashkenazi descent and we are from Sephardi descent. They came with us to synagogue, and the way that it's the tradition in the synagogue, in the Sephardi synagogue, is where you want to go up to the bima and be part of the service. You have to raise your hand and you donate a portion of money to go for that portion of the reading and be part of that tradition. In a Ashkenaz synagogue, you have a membership and they pick people randomly or by order and they go up to the bima like that. And my father-in-law didn't know that, and he came to the synagogue and suddenly he sees like a bidding war going on. And he's like, what is going on? He keeps raising his hand. And I was like, we're buying all this stuff where everybody doesn't have anything to buy. And he found it very funny that, you know, this is a way to go out and worship by donating money and celebrating with, you know, with your people, but in a different way that he's accustomed to. One more tradition we have in the holiday of Passover, basically, we're celebrating going out of Egypt, being slaves and going into freedom. There's a portion in that service that we read, and you're supposed to thank for all the things that we escaped from. And the tradition is to take a scallion and to hit each other every time we mention a certain plague that happened, and that becomes like a whole fight. And you're not supposed to take the scallion from the onion side, you're supposed to get it from the top, but some people turn it over and hitting you really hard. And the people come to the family for that service, they find like, what is going on in this family? They're hitting each other. So that's really done in a very nice, humoristic way. And it's just nice to get together for holidays. It's always a nice time in the family for the elders and for the kids, and keeping the traditions from generation to generation and adding different traditions from other sides of the Jewish faith, basically.
I've been expiring time one after another, but I'm trying to finish the story now. For the first part, I mentioned my military uniform and the Go for Broke banner that during the World War II, the Japanese Americans, they had volunteered for 2 years, from 1942 to 44. They could not fight for this country. But in 1944, wintertime, finally President Roosevelt said, okay, you could volunteer. And you know, they had become the most decorated unit in the entire history of the United States. I'm so proud of them. And we used this Japanese heroics to our advantage because at that time, even the Supreme Court did not rule this unconstitutional. Did you know it took 76 years? There's no brainer on this. What just being a Japanese American doesn't give you a right to lock you up for 4 years in this country. But you know, it took 76 years, but finally it was done. And this year, I was fortunate enough to pass the Frank Korematsu Day of Constitution and Civil Liberties in the state of New Jersey. January 30th has become a day of Constitution in New Jersey in perpetuity. This was done really this year. And I've been trying to teach and educate people in this country how we can learn to live together. Something like this should never, ever happen. But it is happening. Even today, the hate crime. If you see in the front, I was in the program Oprah Winfrey Show 1992. The name of the program was Racism in America. And this is not the first time we're facing racism in America. The first one, when he talked about, we got locked up for 4 years. This came from hate. In 1990s, Japanese had bought the United States, and they had the reporters always asking me, have you been bashed because the Japanese had bought Rockefeller Center or Pebble Beach? But the night before, she had interviewed me, and I was bashed. This was in 1992 in Norwood, which is fairly close to here. I had a visitor from Japan, and also two of my neighbors, white neighbors, were in the restaurant, and this two Caucasian people, they waited outside for me, and they started yelling and screaming at me for no reason. I told them I'm American. I haven't fought in Vietnam War, but this didn't do any good. I ran out of my time again, sorry.
He's a true military man.
Okay, I feel like this question is so easy but so hard because I'm gonna talk about food for like 2 minutes. Being Korean, I mean other cultures also enjoy soup, but like soup in winter, it hits you differently, you know? Like, I'm not even Vietnamese, but when I eat pho in like snowy or rainy day, it's just like, we say, 시원하다, which means like, it's like cool, but it's not cool at all. It's like warm, but it feels really nice in your tummy. So whenever I think about food, I think about like stews in Korea and like kimchi jjigae, doenjang jjigae, which is like very basic soups. But I feel like Korean culture and like Korean food has expanded so much in the past like decade or two. It's so easy to get anywhere. Like I go to Costco and I can get it. Like seaweed, I can get it there. Like rice, I can get it. Like if you go to Trader Joe's, you can see kalbi or like tteokbokki, and it's so easy to make. So I'm not trying to promote Costco or Trader Joe's, but like this is all I'm getting at Trader Joe's. Like Indian food, I can get it. Chinese food, I can get it. Korean food, I can get it. It's so easy and like so easy to make. So when I think about food, I think it's so easy to come together with all different backgrounds and race and whatnot. And I just want to talk about food because I love food. And like, when I think about bubble tea, like, you want to go get bubble tea? Sure, why not? Because bubble tea's so good. So I just love food, and I love Korean food. I love making Korean kimchi jjigae at home, galbi at home, and making kimchi with my mom. Because I'm gonna have to do that one day. Like, my mom still does it for me, but it's really hard. So I'm learning, and thank you all.
So I'm actually going to continue your conversation with a different item of food. So this question was also the hardest for me, and so therefore I came fully unprepared to answer this question, knowing that I will just wing it on what comes to mind. And on my way here, I was chatting with my 13-year-old son, and I said to him, you know, how would you answer this question? What's your most special thing about being Jewish? And he goes, challah. And I was like, challah? And so those of you who don't know what challah is, it's basically bread that, unlike matzah, has risen and it's just delicious. But I think his answer resonated with me, right? It's a simple answer. What's your favorite thing? Challah bread. But it symbolizes so much more. It symbolizes the experience that we have every Friday night where we do take out challah. Sometimes it trickles over to the next morning and we're making challah French toast and cream cheese. But really what it's about is kind of the notion of the time is stopping for a moment, we're enjoying this food, and we're doing it together. And I think that any holiday or any positive memory that I have in my life of being Jewish and identifying as Jewish has been the piece of togetherness, that I'm doing it with my family, with friends. I'm gonna end this comment on one story. We were celebrating Passover with the Osner family, who Molly's sitting over there, and they are Israeli. They read from the book that we read during Passover. They read in a Hebrew version, and we come with our Seder books with an English version, and the stories are the same in a different language. And it was actually Dan, Molly's husband, who pointed out that how amazing is this, right? We all are coming with our own traditions, bringing in our own backgrounds, cultures, lives, countries, languages, but all Jewish people around the world for 5,000 years are keeping the same tradition and reading the same words. And so, you know, that kind of coupled with the food and the family and just the tradition of it, whether you're fasting or eating a ton, it's just about the tradition, staying forward, keeping forward, and being together through it.
Like I mentioned earlier about the diversity, so the festival or the festivity is the main thing that I enjoy in my culture, in the Hindu thought process and Hindu festivities. So I was reading someplace, so there are 365 days in a year, and someone documented that there are more than 2,000 festivals we celebrate. So you can think about that how much festivity we celebrate in our culture. And the festivities is ranging from one festival of Holi, where we get all dirty with the different type of colors, to the Diwali, where we clean up entire house and decorate the house and then wear all the different nice clothes, right? So the range of the festivities that happens from one extreme to the other extreme, that is another type of diversity. And funny thing is, for these so many festivals, there are different special foods that happens on those festivals. So much variety of food that I used to taste every time. And like I mentioned, like in India, every 50 miles there is a different food and all. So in here also in the US, the main thing is when I was back in India, so I was in a particular region, so one type of food. So best part I like in the US, now my friends are all from the different parts of the India, and I get the opportunity to taste all the different type of foods going into their houses. So that's the one thing that I like. So if you see, there are so many, my friends and other people are here from India. And if you talk to them, they might be from 7 or 8 different regions from India. Their languages are going to be different, their mother tongue is different, their foods are different. They might be celebrating the same festival in a different way or making a different food. So that's the best part. I like being in US, that I am getting that opportunity which I never got it back in India because I was confined to one region. So that's definitely I'm enjoying.
I think the common theme is food. Well, needless to say, the Chinese Americans use food as our currency of friendship. How many of you have been invited to a Chinese restaurant by a Chinese person? It's like how we make friends. I see you have some hands up. How many of you have been to a restaurant where the wall have Chinese writing and that is not on the menu? You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So food is how we bond. We don't bond over alcohol. We don't bond over drinks. So it's really awkward for us to walk around the room with drinks in our hand because we don't know what to do with it. We're supposed to drink it, or we're supposed to pretend we're drinking it, take one sip and work it through 4 hours, or we're supposed to chuck it. It's a mystery to us, and especially when you're in college, you're not sure what to do. Food is synonymous with family. We have food whenever we have family gathering. And our table are round. They're not long tables. I've never grown up seeing anyone with a long table until I came to this country. So if you're having a fight with someone, you're screwed. You can't be set apart. Everyone is equal distance. And family is such a big part of our tradition. It's unfortunate that because of the single child policy, I know that many of my contemporaries don't have siblings, but I have a family of 5. My mom left China at the right time so she could procreate freely, and she procreated. We gather. When we go out, it's hard to go out. When we go out, the immediate family is 20 now with all the kids in the family. And we love it. It was hard growing up as a kid. We never had enough meat on the table. Grandma always saved the protein for the boys. And I always resented that. It is a traditional thing for the boys to be favored in the family, and that's something we joke about it now. But the strong family tie is something that is unparalleled. Nursing home it's taboo. Being separated from our family is taboo. And there's good and bad. There's a lot of expectation when you're the elder. Who shoulders that responsibility in the family? And it becomes a thorn in some family. It's not always happy families, strong ties. The expectation for the elder to take care of the elderly. But I love my family. My in-law moved to Fort Lee for us. My parents are in Fort Lee. My sister is in Fort Lee. My brother is in Fort Lee. He bought the house next to my mom. That's how much family means to us. Thank you.
I think I have to join the food and family bandwagon here as well. I just wanted to share my favorite tradition. I have the benefit of having a Jewish family and Japanese American family here in the United States. So I partake in the Jewish high holidays and get together with my husband's family for Passover. And on January 1st, which is the most important day for Japanese people, we have a Japanese meal that goes on for 3 days because you're not supposed to cook for 3 days. And you're supposed to have food that will last for 3 days. Maybe not the most delicious food because it's not fresh, but we have it for 3 days in a row. You're supposed to. But that's my favorite tradition. Thank you very much for all of your stories. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to bring the community together. Probably communities that don't come together in this type of forum normally. And so I think that we broke down some walls today or this evening, and I think what we're learning is that to build community, you have to bring all types of communities together, I think, essentially. So thank you.
So another round of applause, please, for Mai and Tat and Ilan and Amy and Yogi and Stephanie and Sunwan. What a wonderful So we're going to engage now in actual opportunities for you all to get to know one another. So this was learning from other people. Now you're going to share, you're going to meet someone else, hopefully from a different community than your own, and share similar things. What's your favorite part of your culture? And what's something that maybe has been a challenge for you? What do you wish people knew about your community, your culture? So you're going to have 2 opportunities for one-on-one conversations, and then we're going to be in groups where you can share a little bit about something you've learned tonight, something you might want to learn a little bit more about, something you were surprised about. So you can give some thought to this as we're moving to the next part. So we have some facilitators. The facilitators, if you can now move to your designated areas. And each of you have on your name tags a small number. In just a moment, I'm going to ask you to go, I'm going to ask you to move in the room, not yet. I'm going to ask you to move in the room to the space of the number that corresponds with your name tag. So if you have 1, you're going to come up here in the front. If you've got, like 9, you're going to go back to Emma. Anyone? Wait, hang on, stay there for a second. If you have anything from 1 to 7, you're going to be up in the same front area, and I'll ask you to make circles with the chairs up here. If you're in the back, the circles are already there. And the first thing you're going to do is find a partner to have a conversation with who is from a different community than your own. So now go find your numbers. 1 is up here. So, 2 more things, and then only one thing keeping between you and the food right now. In the back, I'm not sure you can see it, James could point it out. There is a poster, and in the middle of the poster is the pledge that's on the back of your program, the Together Against Hate pledge. I invite you to review it. It's on the back of your program. It's written in the middle of that board. Go over, grab a pen, and sign your name to it. And you're going to make a pledge with all of us here tonight to actively seek to understand and appreciate the perspectives and experiences of those who are different from me. Challenge and speak out against all forms of prejudice, discrimination, and hate. Be an ally to those who are targets of hate. Foster a culture of mutual respect, empathy, and inclusion. Uphold the dignity and worth of every individual and work to build bridges across differences. With thanks to the ABL, we have this pledge made for this evening, and we invite you to sign on as a unified community of us all continuing to work together. On the side of the auditorium here is an assortment of dumplings from all different communities, all kosher, so they may not taste exactly as you may be familiar with, and quite enjoyable. All that can be true. They're all over here. There's beverages, hot beverages, and cold beverages, and I invite you to see all of the information and art brought by all our communities. Thank you all very, very much. Stay as long as you like.